I'm Noel Edmunds. I'm a Lloyds shareholder. And you'll know from the registration process that I've also been asked by a number of other shareholders to put questions on their behalf. I carry a considerable burden in that regard, and I will, with all respect to other shareholders, keep this as brief as possible. And I'm sure the questions that I'm going to ask you will find very easy to answer. Your bank destroyed My Business Unique Group. Over 100 people lost jobs, lives were destroyed. And as you've done with thousands of SMEs, we were groomed, we were pillaged, and we were destroyed. I lost millions of pounds. You actually stole millions of pounds from me. Now, last year, I listened to you and your CEO promising a swift and fair compensation for all victims. But that process has not materialized for the majority of people who have had their lives destroyed by criminal bankers. You then forced me into a situation where I had to go public, and it was something I didn't want to do. I met with Adrian White to try and resolve matters, but unfortunately, he wasn't interested in a negotiated settlement. So, you might be aware I set up 3 websites, one of which is a whistleblower's website, and you might be well surprised to learn just how many of your 70,000 employees really don't like the way you run your bank. They've been very cooperative. We've been very active on social media. We have 23 shows on the YouTube channel, over 3 million views. We have a worldwide radio station highlighting the truth about Lloyds Bank. An independent agency recently assessed the reach and the gross views I was astonished about. And I'd happy to show you the report, Norman. 1.7 billion gross views. So people know about this situation. Well, at the AGM last year, you were very specific in your description of the Greeks review, and you said that swiftly was weeks, not months. You'll recall that. Yes. City analysts and media observers have commented that this was a deliberate lie on your part in order to protect your position ahead of the shareholder vote. Now, of course, the Griggs review is an independent review, but I am right when I say that Russell Griggs is actually paid by you. Yes or no?
He's paid for performing the review, of course.
Yes, by Lloyds Bank. Yes or no?
Well, yes, of course.
Thank you. And Linda Dobbs is remunerated by you in her inquiry, her independent inquiry?
Of course we're paying the cost of her inquiry, yes.
Right, so she is equally independent. And the lawyers that are supporting her are paid by Lloyds Bank, yes?
We pay all the costs of both the people investigating for us. We pay the costs of clients who have been needing help putting their claims. We pay everyone's costs. We want to get to the bottom of things, yes.
There might be some people who actually think that your version of the word independent is not the same as the rest of the British nation, because you're actually paying these people.
Well, would you like to come to a question then, Mr. Edmonds?
Yeah, okay. Well, I've asked you one already. I understand from 2 whistleblowers that at meetings you chaired in October and November of last year, that the bank decided that the outcome of the Dobbs inquiry, review, call it what you will not be published. Can you confirm that you've already taken that decision?
Why don't you ask all your questions, then I'll address them.
I think that's a very reasonable question. What's the problem of answering that?
Well, I'd rather you ask all your questions, then I'll address them. Otherwise, this is going to go on for a long time.
No, I'm trying. I mean, I'll go quite quickly if you want, but that is a very, very quiet, please. That is a very reasonable question as to whether or not the bank has already decided that this review by...
No. Would you like to continue?
So the answer is no.
The answer is no, yes.
Thank you. At last year's
AGM... But it would be easier if you just ask your questions, then I'll address them. Thank you.
At last year's AGM, you stood on that very stage and you stated all victims of your criminal activities would be reimbursed for their losses. Yes? Reimbursed for their losses. It's a very important point, Norman, because we know that Lloyds Bank have been engaged in extensive wrongdoing. We know there is proven criminality. We know that through Parliament. And a year ago, you committed Lloyds Bank to reimburse people for their losses.
Yes?
Well, I have not been able to find any evidence of one person being compensated for their losses. Have you paid any consequential losses as distinct from compensation?
Is that your question?
Yes or no would be a fine answer.
We have gone through a review with all of those customers, looking at all the circumstances that they've put. Professor Griggs has conducted an independent review of their claims and come up with compensation amounts that are appropriate to deal with all the circumstances, including all the inconvenience and distress that those customers have put to us.
Yes, well, you offered me 3.6 million because I was upset, but you specifically said you would not cover my losses. And my question is very important to shareholders, and you know why it's so important. Have you actually, yes or no, reimbursed any of the victims for their losses? Yes or no?
Where they have put claims to Professor Griggs.
Yes or no? Compensation in law is different to the losses. And on that very stage last year, you said you would compensate people for their losses.
Any losses
yes or no?
Mr. Edmunds, any losses that they have suffered, which they have put in their compensation claim, have been reviewed, and if they are appropriate, they'll be paid, of course.
Thank you for that. It's been a terrible 12 months, as you know. You've boasted that Lloyds has enjoyed a landmark year. Some would say you've had actually a skid mark year. The truth is, the last 12 months have been utterly disastrous for Lloyds Bank. The credibility of your CEO, yourself, and Lloyds senior management is at an all-time low. You've permitted the corporate image of a once proud bank to be completely tarnished, and your brand values are trashed. The Black Horse has become a symbol of the dark force in British banking. Lloyds has been described by MPs as systemically corrupt. The Tomlinson report accused Lloyds of engaging in the destruction of healthy SMEs. By my calculations, Lloyds Bank, far from being by your side or helping Britain prosper, has in the last 10 years destroyed over 100,000 UK businesses. You say the business support unit is not a profit mechanism. Actually, all the paperwork revealed by the people that have worked in it since 2008 contradicts that. Thames Valley Police and the Crime Commissioner have publicly stated that your bank obstructs the police, that you banksters are conducting serious organised crime. That was an allegation. And that the people here, the board, are guilty of covering up criminal behaviour. Thames Valley Police, as you know, have now increased their inquiries. And of course, you're now being investigated by the National Crime Agency. Norman, old boy, I tell you, even the Cray twins and Al Capone didn't have this amount of police investigation. You have, by failing to act in an open and honest way, destroyed the credibility of a fine British institution. It impacts on the British economy. It impacts on our position vis-à-vis Brexit and negotiations. And we just wonder, shareholders wonder, whether you appreciate how you are perceived outside of the towers of Lloyds. Every member of your senior management and the entire board were well aware of the criminality in what you call Reading. Now, the reality is, because of the report that has come out, you know it wasn't a little office in Berkshire where a couple of people just happened to have a bad day and decided they'd turn into criminals. My question, on behalf of a shareholder who has suffered grievously, Norman, at which point did you personally know of the criminality in London and the South East?
I'm not sure what you're referring to, Mr. Edmunds.
You like to call it Reading, the Reading incident.
Yes.
Try and keep it small so that your liability is reduced.
Yes.
But as we know from the Turnbull report, it was London and the South East. This was much bigger.
Well,
And I put it to you, Normal Boy, that you knew about this a long time ago. And I'm just wondering if we could have a moment of honesty that you would actually tell the shareholders, when did you personally know about the criminality?
well, I don't accept what you're saying, Mr. Edmunds. There was a criminal trial which we helped the police bring those criminals to trial. There were some individuals in the Impaired Assets Office in HBOS in 2007.
We're all aware because...
Well, you're making allegations about something else which...
No, I'm not making allegations.
What are you saying?
I'm just pointing out to you that the report you commissioned showed that it wasn't limited to Reading, that it was a much bigger crime, and I'm just asking, because I would love something positive to come out of this AGM. I would love you to change your attitude to us shareholders and the public. I'd love you to be honest and truthful. When did you, Norman Blackwell, first know about the criminality?
Well, I don't accept your premise, Mr. Edmunds. There is...
Okay, you've answered the question. That's good enough. So the cover-up has now been exposed. Your strategy of lying, denying and deceiving, which has been executed brilliantly by your CEO, because of course we know that Antonio knew about the crime as part of his induction in 2011. He knew about it then. Now, actually, I think it is regrettable, and I don't like jumping on the bandwagon of liars, but so many shareholders do regard you as a bunch of liars because it's so unnecessary. It is so unnecessary, Norman, for you to lie about this. But your CEO has lied to Parliament, lied to the police, lied to media. This is why you're in the mess at the moment, because actually, you know, Britain's got challenges, but at the foundation, we like honesty and we don't like liars. And so the lying has gone on and on and on. And you know that Parliament has called you liars. And so I think you just really believe that everybody outside of Lloyds Bank is as thick as the stuff that comes out of the back of your black horse. This report came out eventually when one of the criminals decided he was going to actually do the decent thing. And of course it was mentioned in Parliament last week. And the response of Lloyds Bank was to deny that you commissioned the report. That is offensive to the people of Britain. It is offensive to your victims. Are you aware of Sue Harris?
I'm not going to discuss individuals, Mr.
Oh, hang on.
Edmunds.
An employee of your bank who was the senior manager involved in the compilation of the report.
Could you finish your peroration, please, and ask a question? There are other questions waiting to ask.
No, Norman, you're quite incredible. I am asking you questions.
This isn't a show, Mr. Edmunds. This is an AGM, and I'd like you to come to your question, please.
Now, Norman, if you want to turn it into a game show, the way you treat us, I would call it pointless. And if you want it to turn into jail or no jail, you are going in the right direction. I am being serious because these things are very, very serious. I keep asking you questions and you duck them. Do you really expect the people of Britain to believe that Lloyds Bank did not commission the Turnbull report? That a woman decided one day that, well, I've done my nails, I'll compile a report now. And she had a look around and thought, what can I do a report about? And she did a report on criminality. And you saw it in 2013 and thought, we better keep that quiet. You covered it up, didn't you, Norman?
I'm not going to respond to that allegation, Mr. Edmunds.
Why not?
Because it's not an appropriate allegation for you to make. Would you like to come to your question?
Just tell me again why you're not prepared to say whether or not Lloyds Bank commissioned that report.
The Turnbull report you refer to is a matter between us and the individual. I am not prepared to discuss the individual circumstances in a public forum.
Well, there's two ways of looking at this. One is that you commissioned the report, and then it was so horrible that you sat on it, or that you had an employee who you probably should have fired for wasting her time compiling a report off her own bat.
What is important is the document you refer to was supplied to the regulators and the police at the time it was written. It's been part of all the investigations. I'm not going to get into a dispute with you about why it was written or who commissioned it. Everything that was in that was supplied to the police and the regulators at the time.
Yeah, but the question is, who commissioned the report? That's the simple question. And you put out a press statement last week that it was not commissioned by Lloyds Bank. Yes or no, did you commission the report?
The press statement stands as it is.
That you did not commission the report?
The press statement stands as it is.
That you did not commission the report?
Yes, the press statement stands as it is.
This is a kind of Jeremy Paxman, Michael
Well, you are... I'm not sure where you're going, Mr. Edmunds, because would you like me to just address some of the questions you raised? I mean, I know your particular business case is a very important issue for you. You've set out one version of events of what you believed happened. We have a different version of events. We do not agree. We haven't been able to reach a settlement, and we're not persuaded of the allegations you make, Mr. Edmunds. You've stated publicly that you wish to pursue that in court, and it's inappropriate to debate those matters, therefore, here. But I'm very happy to leave it to the court to look at the evidence. I'm very happy, if you have new facts or information, for you to provide those to the proper authorities or to the court. And I'm very happy to let the judge decide on the basis of that evidence what the right outcome is. And I hope you are too. And I hope on that basis we can leave it there. Thank you.
Well, I'm very thrilled that you are so happy on so many different counts. The last question. This is very important to shareholders. Ross McEwen, the CEO of RBS, told members of Parliament that RBS's legal bill for in-house and external lawyers was fast approaching £1 billion a year. However, this sum is apparently overshadowed by the amount that Lloyds spends on lawyers. Now, it's very difficult for us shareholders to get that information, but it has been estimated that Lloyds Bank's annual bill for legal costs is now in excess of £1.2 billion a year, yes or no?
I don't recognise that figure.
I don't recognise the precise number, but I'd be probably comfortable saying no.
You've heard from the finance
I didn't hear that, George, but could you put a specific number on it?
No, so I didn't recognise that specific number, but I'd be pretty comfortable in saying no.
Okay, and what number would you be comfortable saying?
It would be a small number, but I don't know what the specific number would be here and now.
I think I'd go with a ballpark.
You said that was your last question, Mr. Edmunds. Have you finished now?
North or south of £1 billion, George?
Sorry, I've said my answer to this question.
Okay. All right. Norman, thank you very much indeed. It's been very nice to meet you.
Well, and you. Thank you for making the long trip and coming here. Thank you, Mr. Edmunds. Can we have the next question?
It was entirely my pleasure.
Good. Can we have the next question?